Years passed. Lysari stood in front of a large crowd in the center of a peaceful city. The sky above was clear and soft blue, just like the one Nathan had once shown her in a picture. Around her stood humans and aliens together, smiling, talking, learning. It was the first major peace summit between Earth and her people. A monument stood tall behind her. It showed two hands, one human, one alien reaching for each other and touching. Below it were the words, "Understanding begins with kindness." Lysari took a breath and stepped up to speak. "Once I believed humans were my enemy," she said. "I thought they would hurt me, just because I was not like them, but I was wrong. One man, a soldier named Nathan, showed me another way." She paused and looked over the crowd. He didn't see an enemy. He saw a person. Because of his actions, I found a new path. Today, I help others find it too. The crowd clapped gently, respectful and calm. Children of both worlds stood in the front row, their eyes wide. Some had human faces, others alien features, but they stood together without fear. After the speech, Lysari walked through the park with a small group of young students. They asked her questions about Earth, about her, first days with the humans, and about Nathan. One small boy asked, "Will we ever meet him?" She smiled. "Maybe one day. He's out there, still working for peace." The boy nodded. "I want to be like him." "So do I," she said softly. Later that day, a message arrived. It came from an Earth vessel now orbiting nearby. Lysari's heart skipped. As she read the sender's name, Nathan, she rushed to the landing area. As the shuttle door opened, a familiar figure stepped out. His hair was more gray now, and lines marked his face, but his eyes were the same. Nathan smiled as he saw her. "Did I miss the speech?" Lysari laughed. "Only by a few hours." They stood still for a moment, then embraced. The crowd watched, some cheering quietly. "You've done more than I ever imagined," he said as they walked together. "You built something beautiful." "I only followed your example," she replied. They sat by the monument as the sun set, casting a warm glow on the city. "Do you remember the garden room?" she asked. "Of course," he said. "It was the first place you smiled at me." She smiled again now. "It was the first place I felt safe." They talked long into the evening. Nathan shared stories from his missions. Lysari told him about her students, the program she had helped start, the bridges she had helped build. "Some people still don't trust," she said, "but they're fewer now. Each year, more people want peace." "That's because of you," he said. "No," she said. "Because of us." As the stars appeared in the night sky, Nathan looked up. "We used to look at these from the station. Now we're here on the ground, together." Lysari nodded. "We turned fear into something better." They sat in silence again, not needing to say more. Around them, children laughed. Lights twinkled in windows. Music played softly in the distance. Lysari looked out at the peaceful scene and thought about how far she had come. She had once braced for death. Now, she stood for life and love and a future built on trust. Lysari stood by the large glass window of the station, watching a small shuttle land in the docking bay. Her people had sent a message a week ago. They offered her a choice: return home under new peace terms or stay with the humans. The decision was hers. She had not answered right away. She needed time. Nathan walked into the room, holding 2 cups of tea. He handed one to her. "Still thinking?" he asked. She nodded. "It's not easy. I want to see my world again. I miss it. But I also know I'm different now." He looked at her, calm and steady. "Whatever you decide, I'll support you." She gave a small smile. "I know. That's why it's even harder." They sat in silence for a while. The stars outside blinked gently. The station hummed with quiet life. Lysari thought about the journey she had taken, from fear and hate to understanding and peace. She remembered the faces of the children she taught, the smiles of the officers she once feared. And she remembered the moment she stood beside Nathan during the attack. They asked me to return as a peace speaker, she said softly, to help others see humans as I do now. Nathan nodded. You'd be perfect for that. But if I go, she said, I don't know if I'll see you again. He took a deep breath. Maybe not for a while, but I'll still be here. And I'll be proud of you. The next day, she stood before the station commander. I've made my decision, she said. I will return. To my people, but only as a voice for peace. Not as a soldier, the commander nodded. You've earned our respect, Lissari. We wish you well. Nathan walked her to the shuttle. Her bag was small, just a few things she had gathered during her time on the station. He held her hand tightly. You afraid? He asked. A little, she said. But not like before. Now I know who I am. He smiled. You're brave. And no matter where you go, that won't change. She looked into his eyes. Thank you, Nathan. For everything. He gave a soft smile. Just come back one day. She leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. A gesture from her culture that meant deep thanks. Then she turned and walked up the ramp. The shuttle door closed behind her. Nathan stood watching as the small ship rose and disappeared into the stars. On board, Lysari sat by the window, looking out. She didn't know what her people would say. Some would still call her a traitor. Others might listen. She hoped they would hear the truth in her voice. When she arrived, she was greeted by a quiet group of officials. They led her to a meeting hall where she would speak before a council. She felt nervous, but she remembered Nathan's words. She was brave. She stood in front of the council and told her story. She spoke of kindness, of trust, of learning to see beyond old hate. Some council members looked unsure. Others leaned forward, interested. One elder asked, "And you trust them?" She answered, "Yes, because they trusted me first." After the meeting, she met young recruits who had never seen a human. They asked her questions, the same way she once asked Nathan. She answered with care. As weeks passed, she saw small changes. People began to question old ideas. They asked for more news from the humans. They sent gifts, books, and messages. Lysari became a guide. She helped prepare the first exchange team from her world. She taught them what she had learned, not just facts, but feelings, how humans laughed, shared, and forgave. And at night, when she was alone, she looked at the stars and wondered if Nathan was doing the same. Even far from the station, she felt close to him. He had shown her a new path. Now she was walking it, not just for herself, but for her people. She didn't know what the future would bring, but she knew she would face it with courage and hope because she had been transformed by something simple, something powerful, kindness. Lysari stood by the large glass window of the station, watching a small shuttle land in the docking bay. Her people had sent a message a week ago. They offered her a choice: return home under new peace terms or stay with the humans. The decision was hers. She had not answered right away. She needed time. Nathan walked into the room, holding 2 cups of tea. He handed one to her. Still thinking? He asked Dot. She nodded. It's not easy. I want to see my world again. I miss it. But I also know I'm different now. He looked at her, calm and steady. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. She gave a small smile. I know. That's why it's even harder. They sat in silence for a while. The stars outside blinked gently. The station hummed with quiet life. Lysari thought about the journey she had taken, from fear and hate to understanding and peace. She remembered the faces of the children she taught, the smiles of the officers she once feared. And she remembered the moment she stood beside Nathan during the attack. They asked me to return as a peace speaker, she said softly, to help others see humans as I do now. Nathan nodded. You'd be perfect for that. But if I go, she said, I don't know if I'll see you again. He took a deep breath. Maybe not for a while, but I'll still be here. And I'll be proud of you. The next day, she stood before the station commander. I've made my decision, she said. I will return. To my people, but only as a voice for peace. Not as a soldier. The commander nodded. You've earned our respect, Lissari. We wish you well. Nathan walked her to the shuttle. Her bag was small, just a few things she had gathered during her time on the station. He held her hand tightly. You afraid? He asked. A little, she said. But not like before. Now I know who I am. He smiled. You're brave. And no matter where you go, that won't change. She looked into his eyes. Thank you, Nathan, for everything. He gave a soft smile. Just come back one day. She leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. A gesture from her culture that meant deep thanks. Then she turned and walked up the ramp. The shuttle door closed behind her. Nathan stood watching as the small ship rose and disappeared into the stars. On board, Lysari sat by the window, looking out. She didn't know what her people would say. Some would still call her a traitor. Others might listen. She hoped they would hear the truth in her voice. When she arrived, she was greeted by a quiet group of officials. They led her to a meeting hall where she would speak before a council. She felt nervous, but she remembered Nathan's words. She was brave. She stood in front of the council and told her story. She spoke of kindness, of trust, of learning to see beyond old hate. Some council members looked unsure. Others leaned forward, interested. One elder asked, "And you trust them?" She answered, "Yes, because they trusted me first." After the meeting, she met young recruits who had never seen a human. They asked her questions, the same way she once asked Nathan. She answered with care. As weeks passed, she saw small changes. People began to question old ideas. They asked for more news from the humans. They sent gifts, books, and messages. Lissari became a guide. She helped prepare the first exchange team from her world. She taught them what she had learned, not just facts, but feelings, how humans laughed, shared, and forgave. And at night, when she was alone, she looked at the stars and wondered if Nathan was doing the same. Even far from the station, she felt close to him. He had shown her a new path. Now she was walking it, not just for herself, but for her people. She didn't know what the future would bring, but she knew she would face it with courage and hope because she had been transformed by something simple, something powerful, kindness. Lissari walked through the main hall of the station, no longer watched by guards. People nodded when they saw her. Some even smiled. A few still looked away, but she understood. Change took time. The station had become her new home. She worked in the cultural wing, helping humans understand other alien customs. She translated texts and explained meanings behind her people's stories and traditions. Every day she learned more about Earth and shared more about her own world. Nathan visited often. Sometimes he brought work. Sometimes just food. And sometimes they just sat together in the garden room and talked. One day, he brought an old photo of Earth. It showed green trees, a small lake, and children playing. "This was near where I grew up," he said. Lissari looked at the photo for a long time. "It looks peaceful." "It was," Nathan said, "before the war. I wish I could see it with my own eyes," she said. He nodded. "Maybe one day." Lissari felt something warm in her chest. She didn't know if it was hope or something else, but it was strong. She held on to it. Peace talks were moving forward. Humans and her people had begun sending messages through secure channels. Small groups met on neutral ground. And Lissari was asked to help with those talks. She stood beside Nathan in meetings, translating, answering questions, and calming fears. At first, both sides were tense. But when they saw Lissari standing with the humans, speaking calmly and clearly, something shifted. One of her people's diplomats asked her, "Why are you helping them?" She answered, "Because they helped me, and they didn't have to." It was not the answer he expected. But he said nothing more. Weeks passed. The talks grew more hopeful. A plan was made to allow peaceful exchanges. Teachers, scientists, and doctors would visit each other's stations. Lasari offered to help train the first group. She stood in front of a group of young aliens, all nervous, some afraid. She smiled at them. I was afraid too, she said. But I learned that fear is not the end. It can be the beginning. The young ones listened. They asked questions. And slowly they opened up. Lasari taught them human language, simple greetings, and polite ways to speak. She showed them pictures of Earth's animals, food, and games. One small alien raised her hand. Do humans really laugh? Lasari laughed herself. Yes, all the time. Nathan stood outside the room and watched. He saw the way Lasari moved, how she spoke with kindness and strength. He remembered the first time he saw her injured, scared, ready to die. Now she was leading others. That night he found her in the garden room. You're amazing, he said. She looked at him, surprised. I'm just trying to help. You're doing more than that, he said. You're building something that didn't exist before. She looked up at the stars. I never thought I'd be part of something like this. You are, and you're not alone. She turned to him. Nathan, what do you want for your future? He thought for a moment. I want peace. I want to wake up one day and know that no one has to fight anymore, she nodded. I want that too. He reached out and gently held her hand. She didn't pull away. Together, they sat in silence, watching the stars. Two people from different worlds, now walking the same path. For Lasari, life had changed. She no longer felt lost. She had purpose. She had friends. And maybe, just maybe, she had something more with Nathan. Something she didn't have a name for yet. But whatever it was, it gave her strength. And she knew she would keep moving forward. Not as a soldier, not as a prisoner, but as a builder of peace. The night was quiet on the station. Most of the crew was asleep. Lasari walked alone down the hallway, thinking about the new peace talks. A human ambassador was coming soon, and her help was needed. She felt nervous but ready. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A loud alarm rang out. Red lights blinked on the walls. She stopped and looked around. Something was wrong. The intercom spoke, "All hands, prepare for emergency. Possible enemy breach." Her heart raced. She turned and ran toward the control center. As she ran, she passed other crew members getting into position. Nathan was already there, giving orders. When he saw her, his face changed. "Lasari, stay close," he said. "It's your people. They sent a stealth team." She froze. "To rescue me?" He shook his head. "No, to kill you." "They think you're a traitor." Lasari felt cold all over. Her own people wanted her dead. She had feared this, but hearing it hurt deeply. "They've boarded the lower deck," Nathan said. "We have to stop them." Without another word, she grabbed a weapon from the wall. Nathan looked at her. "You sure?" She nodded. "I'm not running." They moved together through the halls. The enemy team was small but dangerous. They knew how to hide, how to move silently. But Lasari had trained with them once. She knew their ways. She helped the humans find the attackers. She pointed out the signs, small marks on the walls, certain smells, patterns of movement. One by one, the enemy fighters were stopped. But then one of them found Nathan and raised a weapon. Lasari acted without thinking. She threw herself in front of him and fired first. The attacker fell. Nathan stared at her, shocked. "You saved me," he said. She nodded, breathing hard. "You saved me first." The fight ended quickly after that. The humans locked down the station. 3 of the attackers were captured. The rest were gone or dead. Later in the medical room, Nathan had a cut on his arm treated. Lasari sat nearby. Her hand still shook a little. "You didn't have to help," he said. "I know," she answered, "but I wanted to." He looked at her carefully. "You chose us over them. That's a big step." She looked away. "I lost my place with them the moment I chose to learn the truth." There was a long silence. Then Nathan said, "You have a place here, if you want it." Tears filled her eyes, but she wiped them quickly. Thank you, she whispered Dot the next day. The commander called her to a meeting. The human ambassador had heard about her actions. Her defense of the station impressed many. You are no longer a prisoner, the commander said. You are a guest. And a partner. Lysari bowed her head. I will do my best to help. She spent the next few days helping repair damaged systems. She worked beside humans, learning their tools and teaching them some of her own. Slowly, more people began to trust her. Nathan came to visit her one evening. They sat in the garden room, a quiet space with fake plants and a view of the stars. You've changed, he said. She nodded. I think I had to lose everything to find myself. You're stronger now, he said. She looked at him. I'm not strong alone. You were with me when I was weak. You helped me stand. He gave her a kind smile. I believed in you. That's all. They sat in silence for a while. Lysari thought of her people. She missed them. But she also knew they had tried to kill her. That pain was still inside. But now she had a new place, a new path. She was no longer just a scout or a prisoner. She was something more. She was a voice between two worlds, and in her heart, she was no longer afraid. Lysari stood in front of a large screen, pointing at symbols from her homeworld. A small group of human officers listened as she explained their meanings. She had come a long way from being a prisoner. Now she was a teacher. She felt nervous, but also proud. The humans were learning. And more than that, they were listening. Nathan watched from the back of the room. He didn't interrupt, just observed. When the session ended, he waited until the others left before walking up to her. You're doing good work, he said. She gave a small smile. I never thought I would teach humans anything. And yet, here you are, he said. That evening, Lysari sat in her cell and thought about what her people would say if they saw her now. They would be angry. They would call her a traitor. But she didn't feel like a traitor. She felt like someone who had finally opened her eyes. Later, Nathan entered with a serious look on his face. I need to tell you something. She stood quickly. What happened? The Alliance wants to question you, he said. They believe you may have valuable information. Her heart dropped. They will not ask questions. They will hurt me. Nathan nodded slowly. I know. That's why I've been looking into your case. I found something. He pulled up a file on the screen. It showed mission logs and orders from her commanders. Lysari stepped closer, reading each word. Her hand shook. They lied to me, she whispered. They said it was a scouting mission. But it was not. It was a trap. Nathan placed a hand on the table. They used you. You were never supposed to come back. She backed away, her legs weak. Why? Why would they do that? Because they didn't want peace, he said. They wanted war. And they wanted you to be the spark. Lysari sat down slowly. Her world spun. Everything she believed was falling apart. I'm going to speak to my superiors, Nathan said. You don't deserve to be handed over. She looked up at him, eyes wide. You would do that, even if it costs you? Yes, he said, because it's right. Nathan took her story, her words, and the proof from the files and brought them to the station commander. It was not easy. Some officers were angry. Others didn't believe her. But Nathan kept fighting. Meanwhile, Lysari helped in the cultural department, translating texts and explaining her people's customs. She stayed quiet about the pain inside her, but she worked hard. She wanted to show them that not all aliens were spies or enemies. One morning, she was called to the command center. Nathan stood beside the commander. The air felt tense. We've reviewed the evidence, the commander said. You will not be sent to the Alliance. You will remain here under observation. Lysari let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She nodded. Thank you. After the meeting, Nathan walked her back to her room. I don't know what to say, she told him. Then don't, he said with a soft smile. Just keep being who you are. From that day on, she was given more freedom. She ate with the crew. She walked the halls without guards. Some humans still looked at her with doubt, but others greeted her with respect. Nathan and Lasari spent more time together. They shared stories from their childhoods. Nathan spoke of forests and lakes. Lasari spoke of glowing trees and floating mountains. They laughed, sometimes sat in silence, just watching the stars outside the glass window. One night she said quietly, "You changed everything for me." He looked at her. "You changed yourself. I just gave you the space." But Lasari knew better. Without him, she would have been lost. Without his trust, she might have become bitter, even broken. She began to dream again. Not a war, but a peace. Of a world where her people and humans could talk, trade, maybe even live together. She didn't know if that future would come. But now she believed it was possible, and that belief was the beginning of something new. Lasari sat quietly in her new cell aboard the human space station. It was small, but not dark or cold. The walls were plain, the bed soft. She had books and a small screen that showed her different parts of Earth. Still, she felt lost. She often thought about her home. Her planet was far away, and she didn't know if she would ever see it again. She remembered her training, the voices that had told her humans were dangerous and cruel. But here she was, still alive. And the human soldier Nathan had not hurt her. He had helped her. That made no sense. Nathan came again that day. He brought food, as always, and sat down outside her cell. "You don't have to eat if you don't want to," he said. "But it's fresh. You might like it." She nodded slowly and took the tray. The food was warm and tasted better than she expected. After a few bites, she looked up. "Why do you come here every day?" she asked. Nathan leaned back. "Because I think you have questions. And I think you want answers." She stayed quiet for a while. Then she said, "My people told me your kind has no honor. They said humans lie and destroy." Nathan didn't look surprised. "Some of us do. Some? Humans are cruel, but not all. Just like I'm sure not all your people are perfect." Lasari looked down. She thought about the officers who had lied to her. They told her the mission was simple, that she'd return a hero. Now she was here alone. She asked, "Why didn't you kill me?" Nathan's voice was soft. "Because I saw someone who was scared, someone who didn't deserve to die." That night, Lasari couldn't sleep. His words stayed in her mind. She had grown up learning to fight, to hate. Now she wasn't sure what was true. Days passed. Nathan brought more videos and more books. She learned about Earth's history, the wars, the peace, the different cultures. She asked him questions about music, food, and family. He always answered honestly. "Do you have a family?" she asked once. "Not anymore," he said. "I lost them during a war. That's why I joined the military." She felt a sharp pain in her chest. "I'm sorry," she said. He gave a small smile. "It's okay. We all carry something." One day, Nathan brought her to a different room. It was a classroom for alien studies. He told the officers that she could help them understand her people's language and customs. Some of the crew didn't like the idea. They said she was dangerous, but Nathan spoke for her. "She's not a threat," he told them. "She's a chance." Lasari was nervous. She didn't trust everyone on the station. Some humans looked at her with fear or hate, but she remembered what Nathan said. She was a chance. She began teaching the humans about her culture. She showed them how her people greet each other, how they tell stories. In return, she learned more about human ways. Over time, the fear in her heart started to fade. She still missed her home, but now she saw things more clearly. Her people had lied to her about many things. Humans could be violent, yes, but they could also be kind, curious, and brave. One evening, as she sat with Nathan in the observation room, she looked out at the stars. "I don't know who I am anymore," she said. "You're finding out," he said. "That takes courage." She turned to him. "What if my people think I'm a traitor?" He looked at her with gentle eyes. Then maybe it's time someone showed them the truth. Lysari didn't answer, but deep inside something was changing. She was no longer the scared scout who braced for death. She was becoming something new. A part of her still feared the future. But when she looked at Nathan, she didn't see an enemy. She saw someone who had shown her a better way, and for the first time, she believed that change was possible.